Good evening. It is Wednesday, December the 19th, about 7:20 p.m. This is Shay Gibson with iKitesurf bringing you a wind forecast for the Tampa Bay area and also the Keys. I just got off the phone with Josh Bartocci, and he was asking if he should make a trip to the Keys or not and where the storms are going to be affecting the most. So we'll go over that in just a second. I wanted to kind of give a heads up that the winds look like they're going to be verifying to some of the model forecasts that you're seeing. Simply because of the area of low pressure that is going to be involved with it. It's going to be closer in. Let me go ahead and minimize myself here and move myself over down here to the corner. And I'm going to bring up radar. I'm going to kind of show you what's going on here. Now, what we have is we have an upper low that's biting down across Texas. It's going to be heading off towards the east. And let me get my draw tool up here and see if I can draw on it a little bit. We're going to see this low right here. It's going to be drawing this way and then sweeping up into the Carolinas. And what that's going to do is this low is going to be placed right here. It's going to cause a lot of this really strong southerly convergence to come up across Florida throughout tonight and into tomorrow. Winds are really going to be cranking up all the way down. And just the proximity of this low being right here really tightens the gradient, which is probably why the models will verify tomorrow just based on that. The one thing we got to worry about is storm activity. So we are seeing a lot of the storm activity occurring right here. This is the outer shield of the prefrontal build ahead of this low, which is right here, and this is what we got to watch for. This little prefrontal area here along some troughing should work its way through overnight and then clear out, but by tomorrow morning we see this line of storms making its way towards the Florida coast, which enhances the severe threat along this area and even across and all the way over into this area up towards the Carolinas throughout the day. Down in the Keys, we should see a pretty strong line of storms make it, but not until later to possibly tomorrow night, which means most of the day tomorrow is going to see that convergent wind really cranking up. Let me go ahead and move the visible down so you can see the storms a little bit better. And so this is the area we're watching tonight. This is the area that we're going to be watching tomorrow as it heads towards the east. And then the Keys down here looks like they're going to get the tail end of this front with the storms later than everybody else. So let's take a quick look at, let me move that out of the way. Let's take a quick look at the models. In fact, I'll go ahead and close that out. And right now for Tampa Bay, I'll just pick Tampa Bay Cut J right here and run the models on this. And we'll take a quick look. And it looks like, for the most part, most models are in agreement. Now, this is in miles per hour, not knots. I'm going to go ahead and convert to miles per hour. A lot of folks do that anyways. But we see a lot of variable winds tomorrow morning as we wake up. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, there's some agreement with a straight south wind by about noon. But then things get a little bit squirrely with some storm activity. You can see these spikes, the Wolf Wharf 2-kilometer model, this purple, the Barney line, spiking up to 40 miles per hour. Those winds could come up in association with severe weather, and what we're talking about here is possible tornadic activity and waterspouts. Frequent lightning is what we got to really worry about, and that's what these models are spiking up and down as a result of that. The other models are a little bit smoother and they're dithered a little bit better with the wind speeds, but they're getting up into the 20s. Some of them drop down in the afternoon. I think the better day for Tampa looks like Friday, as that low heads up towards through the Carolinas. It does this wraparound effect, and you get that really strong westerly wraparound effect with the gradient building in Friday. And it looks pretty solid. We're talking 20s, upper 20s to maybe even low 30s along that westerly flow for Friday all the way through about early to mid-afternoon before things start to drop off after 3 or so. We get down into the upper teens by sunset, and that's sort of the general consensus there. So it looks like a cleaner day for Friday with westerly wind, wraparound winds around that area of low pressure. Now if we go down to the Keys, we'll take a look at the winds down here, and I'll just pick Alligator Reef as a point to discuss. And as we work into tomorrow, we see those winds coming up by late morning up into the 20s. And this wind is a little bit more consistent in the model runs by keeping it more south, maybe even a little bit of tinge of south-southeast according to the NAM5, this bright green one, or the NAM3. But it really holds the winds up pretty much for the whole day. That storm line looks like it's going to not make it there till tomorrow night. You see this big spike right here. And this is probably when these storms are going to be arriving, sometime tomorrow night down in the Keys. In fact, if we look at the model runs for this, here's the NAM 3-kilometer. Now this goes out a little further than the HRR, which I'll show in a second. But here we go as we show this. This goes into tomorrow pretty much for the day, and you can see it's a wash over a lot of folks in Tampa Bay with a few breaks in the lines, another line here, and then it looks like it clears by tomorrow late afternoon into the evening. As we get down to the Keys, that's when the storms start to arrive down that way tomorrow night. So it looks like the Keys are going to be a little bit safer bet than the Tampa Bay area just based on the NAM3 alone. Now if we look at the mesoscale for the HRR, this is a better precip model than most of the other ones, the RPM being another one. But we'll run this one for the next 18 hours. We can see a pretty widespread by tomorrow morning, widespread severe weather working its way across Tampa. We've seen a lot of tornadic activity near that area too, so we have to be very careful. But then by, I'd say, mid-afternoon, a lot of those stronger storm lines seem to work their way through, and then we're left with some splotchy rain bands behind that. But the wind is going to stay up, even behind that initial storm line. So it looks like there's a strong enough gradient with that low sitting right there to the north that those south or south-southwest winds will hold even past that storm line. So there's a pretty good chance we may see that clear up late afternoon, mid to late afternoon for the Tampa Bay area, and be a little bit safer away from those storms. That doesn't mean that you won't see some isolated storms, but at least it's a safer bet than what you were showing before. Now here's the SPC convective outlook for tomorrow, showing slight. This means it's a pretty good chance for severe weather. This does not mean it's a very small chance. It means it's actually on the scale for what SPC uses it for. It's a pretty good chance. And then enhanced is actually a very high chance of seeing severe weather. So we have to, if you look down here at the categorical outlook legend, yellow is over here, the number 3 in the slot, enhanced is number 4. If we get to moderate and high, that means there's a very strong chance we'll see tornadoes. But this right here, if you're in the yellow and the orange, that means you are susceptible to seeing severe weather. Very high, pretty high chance of that, along with possible tornadic activity. So we'll have to wait for tomorrow to see what the probabilistic percentages come out for each one for hail, damaging wind, tornadoes, and such, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what we'll be looking for tomorrow. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like tomorrow for the Tampa Bay area overall, we're looking at winds reaching up into the 20s, possibly gusting to the 30s with severe weather. Some of those storm cloud areas, the winds will be gusting up into the 30s at times, possibly even 40s. And as we get down into the Keys, the winds will be pretty steady down there. There'll be convergent southerly winds that'll be pretty steady. And then as we get into Friday, all areas along that west coast of Florida on the inside of the Gulf Coast there, we'll be seeing that strong westerly wind wrap around. It'll be much cleaner. It should be a fairly organized wind, pretty steady and constant throughout the day, and then dropping off by probably mid-afternoon. You'll see those numbers start to come down. But hopefully that'll help you guys out for the next 2 days. Glad to see you guys are getting winds down there. Of course, I'll be coming Friday night, and we'll get there after the winds are done, and then we'll talk about what's going to happen next week with the winds. Looks like we may have a little bit of a flat spell during Christmas, but you never know what'll happen. Until next time, everybody, take care. Thanks for watching, and good job on the Santa Kite Jam. I got to say that. Hats off to Robert Griffin, Elite Water Sports, Christian, all you guys, everybody that was a part of that. Great job. Fantastic. All right, take care, everybody.